In English, the word Bedlam now means total chaos, noise, and confusion. It is like a madhouse in your mind. But its real story is much darker and much older than most people know. This is the story of Bethlem Royal Hospital, better known as Bedlam. It was Europe's first special hospital for people with mental illness. For hundreds of years, it became a place of fear, cruelty, and terrible treatment for the mentally ill. It was not built with kindness. It started as simple charity in the Middle Ages, but it slowly turned into something horrible. Tonight, we will find out how it all began and how the very first attempt to help madness became a nightmare. In 1247, under King Henry III, England was full of crusades, strong faith, and lots of poor people. Rich London businessman and former sheriff Simon Fitzmary gave a small piece of land just outside the city walls at Bishopsgate. He did this because of his deep religious love for the Star of Bethlehem and the Holy Land. Italian Bishop Goffredo di Prefetti started the Priory of Saint Mary of Bethlehem. It was a simple religious house to shelter the sick, the poor, and traveling church workers while raising money for the Crusader Church. At first, it was not a place for mad people. It had just 12 small rooms, a chapel, a kitchen, and a courtyard on 2 acres of land. It gave basic help to very poor people with physical illnesses. No one could imagine the darkness that would come later. The building was simple and cheap. It was paid for by donations and the king's help. Built over a dirty sewer line, it often flooded and got filthy. Most patients were poor people who got basic shelter, food, and prayers. In 1346, the city of London took over running it. In the 1370s, during the Hundred Years' War, the English king seized the priory's money and land to stop it going to French bishops.
These are for the French. Precisely, they shall not fetch for hands. This wealth secures our realm.
It kept going as a small charity hospital. No one knew the seeds of its darker purpose were already growing. In 1403, a royal checkup at Bethlem Hospital recorded 6 insane male patients called mente capti, meaning their minds were captured. These were the first ones ever written down. Over the next few decades, things slowly changed. By around 1460, most patients were insane. What began as a general hospital for sick people became England's first place for locking up the mad. There was no big plan. Families simply sent troubled or dangerous relatives they could not care for. Chains and wooden stocks started appearing, not to heal them, but to control them. The dark history of asylums had begun. Life in the first Bethlem was harsh and basic. It mixed punishment with prayer. Dangerous patients were locked away alone or chained up. Beatings were routine. People believed they could shock the body back to balance. Corruption started right away. In 1403, Treasurer Peter Taverner, known as Peter the Porter, was caught stealing money and goods. Then the Reformation changed everything. In 1547, King Edward VI seized the priory and gave it to the City of London. It became a public charity run by the governors of Bridewell. But conditions grew far worse. Keepers abused patients and stole their food money. Hunger and neglect became the norm. By the late 1600s, the old building at Bishopsgate was falling apart. In 1676, they built a brand new hospital in Moorfields. Famous architect Robert Hooke designed it for £17,000. From the outside, it looked like a grand palace with long hallways, open wards, and big statues. But inside, it was damp, dirty, and full of overflowing sewers. The new Bedlam was born, and with it came a new time of public horror. The conditions were terrible. Patients, rich or poor, were mixed together no matter what their illness was. The dangerous ones stayed chained for years. There was almost no cleaning. Sewers often flooded the floors. Food was very little, just plain bread and thin soup. In winter, there was no heat. Families sometimes left relatives here forever. Later, archaeologists found mass graves from the 1600s. This was not a real hospital. It was just a storage place for people nobody wanted. The worst part? Bethlem turned into entertainment. Public visits started in 1610 and exploded after the 1676 move. For just a penny or a small bribe, anyone could walk in and stare at the patients. Tens of thousands came every year, second only to St. Paul's Cathedral. On holidays, it became a freak show. Visitors poked them, laughed, and threw things. In 1699, writer Ned Ward described the rattling chains and terrifying screams. The governors loved it. The crowds brought in £300 a year. Patients were displayed like animals in a zoo. That's how Bedlam came to mean total chaos. The treatments came from very old ideas about body fluids called humors. Doctors thought madness happened when these fluids were out of balance. So the cure was to remove them. They did bloodletting, gave medicines to make patients vomit or have diarrhea, burned the skin with strong chemicals, and put patients in icy baths. Later, they used spinning chairs that made patients dizzy until they vomited or passed out. The Monroe family, James, John, and Thomas, ran the medical side from 1728 for more than 100 years. They refused newer, kinder moral treatment used in other places. They stuck with these harsh methods for everyone. There was no real diagnosis, just control. Many patients died from the so-called cure. In the early 1800s, the scandals at Bethlem reached their worst. In 1814, reformer Edward Wakefield visited and was horrified. Patients lay naked, filthy, and chained like dogs. One man, James Norris, had been locked in an iron harness for 12 years. The rooms were like animal kennels. The Monroe doctors and their drunken staff were finally exposed. A government inquiry in 1815 to 1816 called the place inhuman. Thomas Monroe was forced to resign amid public fury. People demanded change, but it came too late for many who had already suffered. That same year, Bethlem moved to a grand new building at St. George's Fields. It looked impressive, but it was still far from perfect. Real changes came slowly. In the 1800s, new county asylums opened and tried kinder moral treatment. Bethlem, which had been above the law before, now faced checks. It moved to its current location in the suburbs in 1930. Today, it is a modern psychiatric hospital run by the National Health Service. It focuses on research and real care, not punishment. But its dark past still remains. The word Bedlam still brings up fear. Bethlem is a strong reminder of how the first mental asylum started with good intentions, but turned into darkness because of neglect, money, and lack of understanding. It is a warning about how we must treat the most vulnerable people. The dark history of Bedlam is not just about one old building. It is about humanity's long, hard struggle to understand the human mind. From chains in the Middle Ages to caring treatment today, we have come a long way. But the shadows of the past teach us an important lesson. Real healing starts with respect and dignity, not with showing off suffering. Bethlem was the first. Let its story make sure we never repeat the same mistakes again. Hey guys, this is the owner himself. It took me around 9 hours to get done with this video. Do like, subscribe and comment for more.